quiet.
What up, though? It's your girl, She's Too Quiet, and welcome back to the She's Too Quiet podcast. This episode is going to give you 10 key points to remember when you encounter a quiet person. The older I get, the more I realize we kind of need this community for all the quiet people out there. There's some things that people just don't understand and don't know about us. And today I'm going to crack the code. I'm going to open up the box. I'm going to let all of our secrets out. Don't be scared. But there is a lot of unknowns when it comes to quiet people. We are, in fact, one of the biggest mysteries out here. And today I just want to shine some light on us so that some of the people we come in contact with every day can learn a little bit more about us, because they really just don't know. The more I'm doing this podcast, the more I'm thinking about, the inner workings of a quiet person. People really don't have an idea of who we are. So today I'm going to tell you guys about 10 things to keep in mind when you're encountering a quiet person. Now, you can share these tips. You can ask a quiet person even if any of these tips identify with them. Some of these tips or some of these items I'm going to mention today may not be true for you, but it may be true for someone else. So hopefully this will be a helpful episode. Coming in at number 1, small groups over large groups. As you know, quiet people like to stay to themselves most of the time. They are not very, excitable when there's a lot of people around. We definitely get lost in the sauce even then. So if you're really trying to learn more about a quiet person, or like, for example, if you know a quiet man, a quiet woman that you're thinking about, hey, I don't know much about them, but I want to meet them, talk to them, see what they're about. I guarantee you, if you pull them off to the side, get them away from a big group, maybe if you guys go do something, on a smaller scale, you'll really learn a lot about them, and then it'll make them comfortable enough to open up. So keep that in mind. Small groups over large groups. Number 2. Now, I do realize that there is an introverted quiet person and an extroverted quiet person. I'm an introverted quiet person. So what that means is that social activities can drain me. Like, I have this battery, right? If my battery, like my social battery, if it is being used, let's just say, okay, let me think about this. For me personally, right? I can go out. It's the weekend. Here we go. It's the weekend, right? If you catch me out on Friday, you may not be able to catch me Saturday. Because my social battery I used it on Friday. So for you to want me to use it Friday and Saturday, like, that's going to take some extra energy out of me to actually go do something on Saturday. And then sometimes too, like, if I have like a rough week, right? Work is crazy, doing a lot after work during a week. I need that whole weekend with no social interaction. Like, I need to be home that entire weekend to charge my battery so that the next week I can show up. Like, I'm back on, right? So that's the difference between the introvert and the extrovert. Of course, extroverts, they love to be out. They're still quiet, but they don't mind adventure every day. They don't mind, getting out and about, going visiting new places and all this stuff, and still carrying that quiet demeanor. They can do that all day, every day. But for me, I'm more introverted. I have a certain level of social interaction that I can take, and then after that I'm done, like I'm home. So keep that in mind when you're meeting and talking to new quiet people, or even if there's someone already in your life, you may be able to identify their temperament. So don't go asking them, okay? If after listening to this and you like, oh, they may be an introverted quiet person, just know one event a weekend with them, okay? One event, that's about all they can handle. So if they be canceling sometimes on that day two, they cancel day two, you know who you got, okay? So keep that in mind. Tip number 3, quiet people get frustrated under 2 circumstances. The first one is when you don't listen when they speak. The second one is when you make fun of what they say or how they feel in serious situations. I can't stress this enough. It's hard for quiet people to talk for real. Like, we think so much and we're trying to get things out the right way so much that when we actually muster up, especially in these like serious moments, not in like everyday life, we cool as a cucumber, we can shoot the breeze, we can talk about whatever is cool. But like when it comes to real serious circumstances, real serious situations, real serious conversations, our whole heart is in these conversations, right? And for you to not listen to them, like be very interruptive, that really is frustrating to us. Because listen, I don't open my heart I don't open myself up to a lot of people. And if we're genuinely going back and forth and we need to figure something out and it's something serious, and I'm telling you what's on my mind, I really need you to be listening. Now, if you're not trying to listen to me, you may need to come back and address me when you're ready to listen. Because if I get any inkling that you're not listening to me or you don't care what I have to say, that puts me in more of a hole. Like, it makes me not want to share. It makes me not even want to waste my energy talking at that moment, because I know that whatever I say is not going to be received, so why waste my breath? That's definitely a mindset that I identify with. And some people don't think that's a good idea, because then you bottle up a lot of stuff, and once you explode for real. And that's a two-sided kind of issue, which is true. But I think for me, if you tell someone, listen, I can't talk about this right now, and the reason is either I feel like you're not receptive or going to be receptive, and then I'm not comfortable saying what I really want to say right now, it's best that we give each other space and time and then come back and readdress it. That's what I would do to fix the situation, so I don't get to that exploding moment. Now, if you don't respect the fact that I need time and space, that's when, the toxicity stuff starts coming in with us quiet people. But so definitely, if you're ever in a serious conversation, serious moment with a quiet person, I encourage you to listen when they speak. And in turn, they have to listen when you speak. And I think that's where you're going to find the happy balance in the situation. Like I said before, making fun of what we say or how we feel, that definitely is frustrating for us, because like I said, we're not very vulnerable at all with a lot of people. So when we let you in, we don't want to, be looked at as a joke, or like, you're not taking in whatever I'm telling you and it's funny and it's not important to you. Those are the kind of things that really frustrate a quiet person. Number 4, there is definitely a feeling of I'm always right that comes with a quiet person. For me, that's definitely something I am trying to identify when I do that and trying to change my habits. I would say just because we think so much, we feel like we've processed every possible outcome. And when we tell you, this is what I think, you really have to convince us that we're wrong. So a lot of times it's going to be like a power struggle sometimes with a quiet person, especially if they're comfortable with you and you're comfortable with them. They will definitely challenge some of the things you say because in the back of their mind, they feel like they've thought this through already. And it's refreshing to meet people and talk to people and they're able to like kind of dismantle whatever you're saying if it's not right, because I think it's a character builder. It helps you grow and understand like, hey, I'm not always right, even though I feel like I'm processing things down to a T. But yeah, that's just something to kind of think about when you come across a quiet person, and help you understand some of their habits, because sometimes they just think they're right all the time, but they're not. And you definitely have to show us that we're not, for us to be like, oh, okay, I feel you, I get you. Yeah, we're definitely going to debate about that, but it's healthy conversation. Next, there are a lot of shy, quiet people, a lot of people who are quiet because they don't want to be seen and stuff like that. But there's also quiet people out there that don't say things and don't do things sometimes because we just don't feel the need to. So like if there's a group conversation, let's just say you going to, like, I really love these open conversations that are happening now in like auditoriums and even at comedy shows, and you get to speak up and they'll ask for feedback from the crowd or something like that. Maybe you're in a seminar and stuff like that. Quiet people, is very rare that will actually say something in those environments, especially if someone, normally there's always one person who's very vocal. And if we're in environments with people who are very vocal, we would rather listen and take in the environment and what people are saying. Now, we will be talking in our inner selves, either, agreeing, disagreeing, being like, man, I want to say this. But if there's too much action going on, sometimes we'd rather just not say anything. And we also value what we say. If we're in one of those more serious type of places, or places where there's more opinions coming out, where people really want to banter and things like that, we want to make sure whatever we say is valuable in that instance. So you may catch us saying something, and if we do say things in that environment, it's because we think it's very valuable. Like if someone has not pointed something out that you think, the quiet person thinks that's really going to add to the conversation, they may go ahead, step out of themselves, raise their hand, and say what they got to say. But sometimes, I'll tell you, it's not always shyness. Sometimes it's like, there's just no need for me to speak in this setting. Number 6, the fear of being seen. Now this is interesting because I looked it up and it came up as a social kind of anxiety disorder, and it's pretty much you're fearful of, people's perception of you. You're fearful of how people will receive how you look, how people will receive how you speak, those kind of things. And I would say this is huge within the quiet people community. We do have the fear of being seen. And sometimes it's not even physical or things like that. Sometimes it's even like the human parts of us we don't want people to see. Like we'll keep that private too. Even though we know we're all human, we all do great things, we all do terrible things, but we don't like to show our humanity sometimes. We'd rather have people perceive us in a certain way, and that can be detrimental to us in the long run. Now, I've dealt with this. I'm still dealing with this kind of fear of being seen. I don't know where the origin story is for me with this. I love when that term came out when I first heard, this is the origin story of blah, 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 blah. I really loved it because I think there's a lot of people, their origin stories can explain a lot about who they are. This is definitely apparent when people go to therapy. They find out the origin of where things really started, some of their thoughts and how they process things. It all started somewhere. I haven't pinpointed my origin story for my fear of being seen, but I think there is an origin story. I just have to really tap into that. But it's one of those things like, ooh, do I really want to tap? But I should, I think it would help people grow if maybe they felt, interested in going back and researching their origin story as to how they became quiet and reserved. But anywho, yeah, I think fear of being seen is big. It has a lot to do with just insecurities that you may have and things like that. But I'm just gonna, for you quiet people listening, there are definitely ways for you to kind of step out of that and grow out of that. You can take steps to be more visible. That's something that I've definitely tried to do over the years. I'm still working on that. Is trying to get used to seeing yourself. Like, I'm not a big picture person. Like, I take pictures of people. I used to take a lot of pictures of, a lot of things, but I would never like to be in pictures. I just didn't like how I looked. Very critical of myself. But the older I get, it's like, whatever. How are you going to prove you've been on Earth if you never take pictures? Like, she's just some random figment of my imagination. So I think it's important to kind of work your way out of this fear of being seen. And like I said, the first step is trying to become more visible. That's in pictures, that's in going out, to the store. Don't Instacart everything. Don't, do the drive-through pull-up to get your groceries all the time. You can do that sometimes, but sometimes it's good to just be more visible. You can reassure yourself that it's safe to be seen. We just live in a very critical society, so I think a lot of times we just have to talk to ourselves more positively, and that will help us increase our confidence in ourselves. Another thing is to remind yourself of your value. I would say for this one, reading your Bible, finding out how God feels about you will definitely help you come out of that, shy area or, the fear of being seen. What does God say about me? Who am I to Him? And if you meditate on those things, that will definitely help you a lot. Number 7, I think I kind of hit on this before. Quiet people are just really careful with their words. Sometimes you may be talking to a quiet person and they take a long time to respond. They probably redoing that text message about 5-6 times. Even if it's just, yeah, cool. They didn't put, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, they're really redoing that text message 10 times. They really want to make sure that whatever they say, is said in the best way. So be patient, even with regular discussions and stuff like that. You may ask them something and it just takes them a long time to say whatever they need to say. You're like, talk, what's wrong? They're really just trying to find the best way to say what they want to say. This goes for everyone who is not quiet. We don't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. This is number 8. I don't know. College really showed me how much being quiet makes people uncomfortable. The less people know about you, the more uncomfortable they are. And we don't mean to make it that way. It's just, we try to be private people. And I remember in college, I lived with 3 other girls and we were cool at one point. And then there was a point where we weren't cool. And this particular roommate, she used to have people over all the time. And I just started beelining to my room because I'm like, bruh, every day somebody's in the living room. When I come back from class, I go do whatever, come back, it's just people there. And I'm like, and of course it's their house too. So, whatever, we didn't have no house rules. So no matter what I had going on, they can use the house how they wanted to, And I remember I would just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of this. So I would just start coming in and going to my room and stuff. And there was a lot of other stuff that happened, and I just really wasn't feeling this chick, right? And I just decided one day, like, I'm not gonna really mess with her for real, because she just not moving how I would move. And I'm just doing my own thing, focus on my school work and whatever. Man, she came up, she confronted me. And this is something else that quiet people aren't a huge fan of. But she confronted me and was like, you don't talk to me anymore. Every time you come in, you just walk past me and stuff like that. And we had like a whole house meeting, man. I told her, I was like, well, I mean, every time I come in, you have a whole bunch of people in here. And I don't know those people, so I go to my room. Like, I don't have to say hello to you each time I come in the house, especially if you're entertaining, right? So I'm gonna just go to my room. Like, it's not that serious. I just, I had to tell her I really don't mess with you like that. And she was upset, and I'm like, I don't mean to make you uncomfortable because I'm not talking to you. It's just, I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to who you are as a person. So at this point, you do what you do, I do what I do, So, we don't mean to make you guys feel uncomfortable. If we are quiet, we're just really, we are who we are, I guess. Number 9, quiet people, we look for connections when we're meeting people. We like to see what we identify with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you into? What are our commonalities between me and you? Oh, you like Kev on stage? I like Kev on stage. What's the funniest thing you watch from him? Like, we like to find the commonalities between each other before we really just like engage and want to be like team whatever, Like, we really want to know, like, what can we talk about? What can we share? Even like a lot of my friends, we feel the same way about things. So that's something too that can draw you to a person. Like, if you feel how I feel about certain things, bam, that's a connection. Number 10, I would say quiet people, we have mastered or really understand the fact that you're not gonna be compatible with everyone. Like, everyone is not going to be friends in this life. And quiet people, we really understand that. There's some people that we really just won't mesh with. There's some environments we're really not meant to be in. There's some, things that you may do that we really just don't do. And I think we have the best grasp on that. Quiet people really know who they are to their core. And we don't really try to fit into too many boxes. I know there's some personality traits and some things like that are easily bent, shaped, and formed and things like that. Quiet people, we really not very malleable. We kind of know what we know, we feel how we feel, and you're gonna have to change our minds. Stubborn, if you will. So yeah, that's my last one. And just to piggyback on that, we really realize that people aren't always going to have our best interest in mind. And I think that goes hand in hand with, everybody won't be your friend. We are very aware that people plot, scheme, they lie, they cheat, and we're very tapped into that side of, I guess, our thought process. Some people call it discernment, but we are really heavy on knowing that, everybody's not your friend. Some people are here to hurt you and not to help you. And also some people are to help you and not to hurt you. I just think we have a strong signal with that. So yeah, those are some tips regarding quiet people. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Feel free to like, comment, and share. If you have a quiet person in your life and you'd like to see what kind of tips that I talked about today, if that matches with them, feel free to share this podcast with them. Thank you for listening. Love God, love people. Until next time, deuces.